All right, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rachak, Wadash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be, wherever you may be. Shalom, Yahshua, Shalom. All right, this is Matthew chapter 14. It's actually a short chapter as well as straightforward. There's really not much to talk about and go into. So it's pretty much a straight read. All right. So it says John the Baptist beheaded, which we talked about in one of our previous sessions, right? John being beheaded, all right? He was, at this fortress, okay? So it says at that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard of the fame of Yahushua. If I'm correct, that was Antipas. Yep, Herod Antipas. I believe it says the same thing in the AMP. Yep, Herod Antipas the Tetrarch, who governed a portion of Palestine, including Galilee and Perea, heard the reports about Yahushua. All right, so let's keep going. So it says when Herod Antipas, the ruler of Galilee, heard about Yahushua, he said, oh, actually, I thought I went to the KJV. So I can. All right. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard of the fame of Yahushua. All right. He was being known and heard about in different lands because people were telling, about the miracles and healings and things of that nature. And said unto his servants, this is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. Now, how would Herod know this? How would he know this? Because all those Israelites he were around. All right. Him understanding certain history. All right. Because he tried to, he tried to really cater to the people. I believe there was, an attack that happened at some point. I'm not sure if it was him or not, so I'm not going to really get into the history. But I believe there was an attack at first under one of those Herods. Then he came back and ended up still being, ruler of the people. So the people didn't like him much, and one of them actually, rebuilt the temple and stuff like that. To try to, win over a little favor with the people. Okay. But they didn't like, these Herods, because to our people back then, they understood that these are not Israelites. All right. They didn't like the idea of these guys, these Herodians being over us, right? Set up over these provinces, over us. All right. And they're not Israelites. All right. But, something we had to deal with because the Roman Empire was in power. It says, and said unto his servants, this is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. It says, for Herod had laid hold on John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. Yeah. John the Baptist, rebuked him, all right, about dealing with his brother's wife. Let's see what the commentary goes into. Let's see if we can get a little extra out of this. All right, it says, this is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead. Though this may seem unreasonable in retrospect, Herod's guilt and superstition led him to this fear. Now, it wasn't exactly superstition. All right. Herod had heard about reincarnation. All right. All these Israelites around him, you don't think he heard about certain things? You didn't think he knew about the laws? Of course he did. He knew about these things, but he still violated them. See? Not that he was subject under it, but you get my point, though. All right. If you feign yourselves to be like us, well, that means you gotta be under the law, and he was breaking it. All right. So it says, he imagined still that he saw and heard that holy head shouting and crying out against him, staring him. Also, what is this? It's just some extra stuff written in there. Crossing on kinds of, let's see here. Okay, here, let's go down here. Oh, get that off the screen. So it says, for Herod had laid hold on John and bound him and put him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because John had said to him, it is not lawful for you to have her. Right? It says, and also, the scripture says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, and so on and so forth. Right? It's maid servant, manservant, all these different things, cattle, all those things thou shalt not covet, just to generalize. And this is talking about his brother's wife, right? His brother Philip, his wife. And although he wanted to put him to death, he feared the multitude because they counted him as a prophet. And at this time, John was that main numero uno prophet, right? Right before Yahushua came on the scene. That was his job, to pave the way, like the scripture say in Matthew 3. All right, make straight his path, all right? I'm preparing you. I'm doing this baptizing and telling you about the Lord coming because he's on the way, okay? And who knows how long John was doing that, prophesying about the Lord coming. But you see, you have believers though, because they were coming to be baptized. All right. So it says, but Herod's birthday was celebrated. The daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Therefore, he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask. And yeah, that's the key thing right there in what we're talking about now. He promised with an oath. All right, a king's word is a king's word. A perfect example, dealing with Daniel. All right, when that decree went out, whoever is not worshiping, okay, is going to be put to death. All right, and Daniel, of course, he's only going to stick to his power. All right, because we have one power. That's Yahweh Bashem Shah. So Daniel stuck to that. All right, and those what they call them? I forgot what they call them. Not magi. Man, I forget. We'll just call it the wise men. Those different men that were set up. So-called wise men. All right, they set Daniel up. All right, they knew that Daniel wasn't going to stop praying to the Lord, and so they waited after the decree was made, and they tried to catch Daniel up. All right, but the Lord was with Daniel, and so what happened? All right, they ended up getting destroyed. All right, in their own folly, in the trap they set for Daniel, they got destroyed. Why? All right, because they wanted him to get fed to the lions. So yeah, it says yeah, because the point is, I was looking for my place, but the point is, when the king makes his word, he can't go back on that word, and it was no different from Herod, as well as the fact that he also had people around him, right? So if he would have changed, okay, with people around him, all right, that wouldn't have been a good look for him. So it says, therefore he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask. So she, having been prompted by her mother, said, "Give me John the Baptist's head here on a platter." So her wicked mother, put her up to it because she was being rebuked. All right, because you with this dude Philip, all right, as his wife, and you're sexing his brother up, and John rebuked him. All right, and just like a woman, all right, snappy neck, eye rolling. Not saying she really did that, but you get the point though. She didn't like that. All right, women don't like to be corrected. Women don't like to be told that they're wrong. They don't like accountability. So she being extra wicked, right? Went in beforehand, okay, and told her daughter how to deal with this. And like I said before, I'm not saying this is uh, actual factual, but it's just kind of extrapolating. Herod probably celebrated many birthdays, and she probably understood that, hey, when his birthday comes around, he always grants a wish and doesn't go back on his word. So I'm gonna tell my daughter what to do. All right, she's gonna go dance before him, and then this is gonna be your request. This is what when he asks you what you would like, this is gonna be your request. See, and remember, Herod he was afraid of putting John the Baptist to death because of him being a prophet. All right, and the people, us, right, with the prophets, right. Now, of course, not the wicked individuals, because the wicked individuals destroyed the prophets, but those that believe this man was a prophet. So he knew not to do that, right? So it says, so she, having been prompted by her mother, said, "Give me John the Baptist's head on a platter." And the king was sorry, nevertheless, because of the oaths and because of those who sat with them. You see, he commanded it to be given to her. So he sent and had John beheaded in prison. You see, so instead of killing him, he put John in prison, which we talked about, somewhere anywhere between 27 and 29 AD, because he was supposedly, according to the Josephus, beheaded in 30 AD. All right, he was a prison in this place called the Fortress of Machaerus. All right. So it says, so he sent and had John beheaded in prison, and his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. Then his disciples came and took away the body and buried it, and went and told Yahushua, which is it goes back to the other chapter as well, because it said when John was in prison, he had disciples come to him and visit him in prison and speak about it. He told them to go back to Yahushua and such so forth, right? So you had disciples there, probably heard about the execution there and came to collect his body. Okay. So if we go back and continue speaking on this account here, having told us about the death of John the Baptist, Matthew will now explain to us how he died. It began with Herod, when Herod imprisoned John for the bold rebuke of the king's sin, yet he did not immediately kill him because he feared the multitude. John spoke out against Herod's marriage because he had legally divorced his previous wife and then seduced and married his brother Philip's wife, named Herodias. the father of Herod's first wife, was the king of Petra, and he later made successful war against Herod Antipas because of how he had disgraced the king of Petra's daughter. All right, and yeah, Petra was one of those lands that Edomites came from. All right, who used to live in. Daughter of Aristobulus and Bernice, and granddaughter, excuse me, of Herod the Great. Her first marriage was with Herod Philip, her uncle, about whom she had Salome. Sometime after, she left her husband and lived publicly with Herod Antipas. Yeah, so it really just, going through the history. We generalized it by reading the top portion, but then it goes in, with the commentary breakdown, all right, of what's going on. Yeah, Matthew 14. We're reading now. So yeah, so we can go back. You can read it on your own if you like. So it says, for Herod had laid hold on John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. For John said unto him, it is not lawful for thee to have her. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude because they counted him as a prophet. All right, but when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod, whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, give me here John Baptist's head and a charger. And the king was sorry. Nevertheless, for the oath's sake, and them which sat with him at meat, he commanded it to be given her. And he sent, and see, because Herod knew this man was a prophet. He knew John was a prophet, all right? So he already knew what the deal was. So that's why he put him in prison instead, all right, I'll tell you what, I know how to shut him up. Let me just lock him away. I don't want to kill him because the multitude of these Jews. What I can do, right, without causing uproar, is put him in prison, right? But then the wicked woman came along and took things a step further, all right, by using deceit, and his head was brought in a charger and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took the body and buried it and went and told Yahushua. Because remember, he had disciples, all right, going back and forth, visiting him. They probably going to hear Yahushua, maybe telling him about different things, miracles or whatever, or different things that he was saying and going back and forth, right? So, so they were going back and they carried word to Yahushua about, the fate of John the Baptist. Right, because mind you, John was his cousin, like 6 months older. All right, and that was the forerunner before he came. John also baptized him. All right, so he didn't even want to. He says, "I'm not even worthy." Okay, but Yahushua says, "Suffer it just for this, for a moment." All right, pretty much for sake of prophecy. It says 5,000 fed. Verse 13 says, when Yahushua heard of it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. All right, so the disciples went and told. All right, John's disciples went and told Yahushua. And it probably, cut him, right? It probably hurt him a lot. So he says, and he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. And when the people had heard thereof, they followed him on foot. I don't see what the commentary says about that. Hold on. Bear with me. The Guzik here. So we got to go down further. Okay. Yeah, Yahushua departs, not wishing to run afoul of Herod. When Yahushua heard it, he departed from there by boat to a deserted place by himself. But when the multitudes heard it, they followed him on foot from the cities. When Yahushua heard it, he departed from there. Again, this was not from cowardice, but from an understanding of the Father's timing and also a prophetic timing. When the multitudes, and, and John himself says, I must decrease, he must increase. Okay, now it wasn't exactly saying that he was referring to him dying. It was just him, the ministry has to be shifted. The attention, I'm prophesying, I'm baptizing, but my portion of the ministry is almost up. Okay. I'm still, I mean, because his main major purpose was to tell about Yahushua. Okay, so afterwards, because there was no actual truth, because they only had the Old Testament, so the prophecies about Yahushua is what he was going into. So you can probably imagine how John the Baptist was constantly going to the prophets of old, bringing out all the precepts dealing with Yahushua's coming. You see, that was his main purpose. But let's keep going. It says Yahushua could escape the potential violence of Herod, but he could not escape the attention of the multitudes. Though both the religious and now the political leaders opposed Yahushua, he was still popular with the multitudes. Yeah, that's what it keeps talking about when he says his fame spread, right? The Puritan commentator John Trapp admired the diligence of these multitudes, whose diligence and devotion is checked to dullness and okay, something else. So it doesn't really say too much about it, but yeah, you can almost imagine how much it hurt Yahushua, man, to hear about that. Okay, probably already knowing that he was in prison because of the disciples that were going back and forth, but then to hear that he was beheaded in prison, all right, that was in a sense kind of a shameful death. He's not only in prison, but you came to this man, while he was locked up and cut his head off. You see. So it says, and Yahushua went forth and saw a great multitude and was moved with compassion toward them, and he healed their sick. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, this is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves victuals. All right. So, the disciples were like, yeah, these people are probably hungry. Should we send them away so they can go get some food to eat? But Yahushua said unto them, they need not depart. Give ye them to eat. All right. And they say unto them, we have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He said, bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake and gave the loaves, to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And this is one of these accounts where you understand how, what happened here, but how it happened. Like, how did, like this, to actually see, like, how did the bread multiply? Okay. How did the fish multiply? Okay. To see, how it really played out is something that, it's just a sight to have seen, which some of us were actually back there then, I'm pretty sure, by way of reincarnation. But you get my point, just how it exactly happened, okay, would have been something to see. All right, but what the scriptures say, speaking about those, man, how is it worded? Man, I forget exactly. I just had that scripture. I believe it's in John. If it comes back, I'll mention it. But anyway, let's keep going. It says, and they did all eat and were filled, and they took up the fragments that remained, 12 baskets full. So way more than enough. 12 baskets from 5 loaves and what was it, 2 fishes, right? Yeah, 5 loaves, 2 fishes. You have 12 baskets remaining, all right, of food. Okay. It says, and they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, beside women and children. So it was really more than 5,000. All right, because 5,000 men. All right, not including women and children. So it was 5,000 men, beside women and children. Okay, so Yahushua fed a lot, man. Let's see what that says in maybe another 21. Past it right there. See, there were about 5,000 men who ate, besides women and children. So really, it was more than 5,000 that he fed. See, look, about 5,000 men were fed that day, in addition to all the women and children. See, because some men might have been single, some men might have had families, some men might have had just them and a woman. Okay, so there's no telling. It's probably close to 10,000. All right. Even though it says 5,000 fed, but those 5,000 were just the men, not including the women and the children. See? So it says Yahushua walks on the water. It says, and straightway Yahushua constrained his disciples to get into. But I mean, we like to stay with what it says. It says 5,000 fed, so we go with 5,000. All right. So it says, Yahushua walks on the water. It says, and straightway Yahushua constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. But when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And the fourth watch of the night, Yahushua went unto them, walking on the sea. So this could be anywhere between, I don't know, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, right? What clearly, it's still dark out, and being on the water, it ain't super comfortable anyways. But then you talk about at nighttime when the water's dark and the sky is dark and it's pretty much just darkness, it's black, right? So and then you're on the water, all right. And so then you got some crazy waves. So yeah, this is probably nerve wracking. It says, in the fourth watch of the night, Yahushua went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a spirit. Notice it doesn't say that ghost, right? It was a ghost. No, it says a spirit, right? And they cried out for fear. But straightway Yahushua spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me to come unto thee on the water. So Peter was like, if it's you, Lord, allow me to come out on the water and walk to you, right? And he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Yahushua. But when he was you got to imagine how this played out, right? Because, with a ship, you used to have this, either, it'll be like a plank, like a ramp, or sometimes you see in the ship where it's like a little rope thing on the net on the side. So how he played out, you got to imagine him going down, all right, or however he got lifted, down. He was probably, kind of, you know, antsy about, stepping on the water at first, but then seeing that he was firm on the water, he started walking, right? Kind of visualizing the situation as it played out. But when he saw the wind, look, and here's another key thing. He says, and when Peter came down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Yahushua. It says, but when he saw the wind boisterous, not the waters, right? Just the wind start to pick up. He's already firm on the water, but heavy winds started blowing, right? Heavy winds picked up. And then what happened? Then he was afraid and began to sink. He cried, saying, Lord, save me. So that's kind of crazy, because it wasn't because of the water, all right? Which, if anything, it should have been that, but it wasn't the water. He was standing firm on the water, but when the wind started to get crazy, that's when he got afraid. And that's when, it shed a little doubt, right? It says, immediately Yahushua stretched forth. It says, but when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid and beginning to sink. He cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Yahushua stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? You see, doubt, because doubt comes from what? A lack of faith, man. That's why he says, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, of a truth, thou art the Son of the Most High. All right. So it's like the reset button kept being hit with them. Okay, it makes me think about John. Was it 14? Where it says, "Have I been so long with you?" Okay, and so on and so forth. Right. So it's like this is the Lord, but then you got to keep getting reassured that this is the Lord. All right. Which you can understand why Yahushua will sometimes get angry at them from time to time. All right. Man, it's the bottom of the chapter already. Yeah, like I said, it was a straightforward chapter. Really wasn't much to talk about, man. Just a miracle, or actually two miracles, because, one was Peter walking on the water, but it had to do with, his faith. All right. Oh, ye of little faith. And then the other one was feeding the multitude and healing their sick, which that's pretty much straightforward there. And it says, verse 34 says, and when they were gone over, they came into the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent out into all that country round about and brought unto him all that were diseased and besought. And this is a constant thing. You hear everywhere he goes, healing the sick, healing the sick, healing the sick, right? And that's exactly why he told that to his disciples. Go, when you preach the gospel, cleanse the sick, heal the lepers, so on and so forth. That was part of what he told them to do, because he gave them the power to do that, all right? And there's going to be men in these latter days who are going to receive the same power, man. As of now, we have the power of the gift of teaching, okay? All right, that the elect be sealed. But that level of spiritual power, we don't have it like that, where we can go and heal, palsy, or, bring someone back from the dead, and so on and so forth, right? Now, to a limited certain extent, you can say that, yeah, we heal the sick through the teaching of his word, all right? Because the scriptures say, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. That doesn't necessarily heal bodily ailments, but, that individual's spirit is quickened, and hope is given to them. All right. They see an out to this life. They say there's an end to this life. And I'm not talking about death, all right? There's an end to this situation here that we're in. Okay. So it gives them hope. All right. It gives them a reason to actually want to live and continue on. All right. So it says, and when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent out into all that country round about and brought unto him all that were diseased and besought him that they might only touch the hem of his garment. And as many as touched him were made perfectly whole. Yeah, and there was a woman with the issue of blood who did the same thing. She said, if I can just touch the bottom of his garment, all right, I know I'll be healed. All right. And that's some great faith right there. Okay. And so that's what, the same, idea these people had. All right. If I could just, touch the bottom of his garment, I know I'll be okay. I'll be healed. See, I'll be made whole. So that was the end of Matthew chapter 14. All right. Lord willing, you were edified to next time. That's what I'm going to say. Shalom.